Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar. We are going to start in 2 minutes. So grab some coffee, grab some drinks, go to the restroom, whatever you need to get ready. We'll be starting in 2 minutes. So let's just all wait together. Welcome to everyone who's just joined. We are going to start in about 2 minutes at 3:02. So grab some water, grab some coffee, anything you need to get started. As we see, we have over 100 participants today and the number is still going up. So let's just wait for 3:02 before we start. While we wait for everyone to come in, maybe we can all go into the webinar chat and you can share where you're zooming from. Where are you based right now, or where are you working from? You can put the country, the city, or just the flag. So I'm coming from Singapore today. So I'm going to put a comment in the chat myself. Hey, we see lots of different places already, mostly Singapore, and then we see Penang, Malaysia, Jakarta, Malaysia again, the UAE, Penang, KL, Kuching, 2 people from the Philippines. Okay, guys, now we're going to start the webinar. So welcomed and thank you for joining us. Today, it's From High to Hired, where we'll talk about how you can hire faster and hire smarter. It's a really fast-paced job market right now, and we all know how hard it is to secure top talent as fast as you need it. So today's webinar is about diving into the latest strategies and the tools that you need to optimize your recruitment processes. So we have a phenomenal group of panelists today, some from the Employment Hero team, and some specialists that we think you'll have an awesome time learning from. We'll introduce you to all of them later, but we'll also talk about SmartMatch today, which is a cutting-edge AI tool by Employment Hero that streamlines and accelerates the hiring process. I myself am super excited to learn more about that because I'm also trying to hire for my company now. And while I'm your moderator today, my name is Amanda. I'm the founder and CEO of my own media startup called BackScoop, where we make it fun and easy to stay updated with the latest news in Southeast Asian startups. So let's start today and hear from Cian O'Neill, the head of sales and partnerships at Employment Hero. So I'll let you introduce yourself and please take it away.
Thanks, Amanda. And thanks everyone who's dialing in today from all over the world. Seems like we've got folks from various different parts of Singapore, Malaysia, Philippines, UAE. So really excited to be here with you all. My name is Cian and I lead our sales and partnerships team in Southeast Asia here for Employment Hero. A little bit about what we do. We'll go through like a couple of points on recruitment specifically, but Employment Hero is a state-of-the-art all-in-one platform that helps companies manage everything they need when it comes to employment. So think of us as your employment operating system. Everything from when you want to hire someone all the way to when they retire and everything in between. And today I'm really excited to talk to you about hiring trends and AI in recruitment. So I guess let's start off by looking at how the workplace has changed over the years, right? If we look at the year 2000, which seems like a long time ago, it's 2.5 decades ago. Companies had a default. They worked in traditional office spaces. They had limited remote work or work-life balance. Companies were generally quite hierarchical. People stayed around for a long time, and so employment wasn't always this difficult. People were generally more loyal or didn't have much options. We had limited technology integration across businesses, things like cloud, software as a service, HR solutions, especially AI. They were just a thing that were really unheard of or very clunky and at that time, state of the art, now very outdated. Traditional recruitment processes, we had a massive rise in third-party recruitment consultants because people depended on them. Employee training and development was generally in person, and not as sophisticated as it is today. And diversity and inclusion was sort of coming into the scene, but not really near where it is today. Now let's look at today, right? In the year 2024, we have flexible and hybrid working models. Some companies like ourselves going completely remote. Employment Hero is one of the few companies that operates at a global scale. We have over 1,300 employees that are dotted around the world. Last week, we actually had our annual global gathering where we flew everybody from the company to one place and we connected for a week. And that's, I guess, one of the things we're remote, but it's also really good to get the FaceTime. Advanced remote work technology that enables us to do that. I don't think we'd be able to do it in the year 2000, definitely not. Flat and agile organization structures, gig economy and freelancing. Freelancing was a thing in 2000, but not nearly as dependable or as wide scale as it is today. Extensive technology integrations, digital recruitment and onboarding. So I, for one, onboarded with Employment Hero, having only met maybe one or two people in person, and that was just throughout the recruitment process. So the ability to do that is just something that's only come around. Continuous learning and development, and the ability to actually use technology to pinpoint where someone needs attention and where they need training. And then diversity, equity, and inclusion is really at the forefront for a lot of businesses to really take seriously. So how do next generation workplaces impact hiring trends? Okay, I just told you there, right? People years ago were generally more loyal. You had people that stuck around in businesses for a long time. That has definitely changed, right? People are more educated on a general basis. People have more options. And I guess employees are in more control now than they have been in the past. So that's the next generation of workplace. And what it's done for hiring trends is there's an emphasis on remote and hybrid work. Employees now have their own preferences. Some prefer in-person organizations. Some people have families or other tasks that they need where they live in a remote location. So with this next generation of workplace, they actually have the option. There's higher demand for digital and technology skills. There's a much larger focus on diversity, inclusion, equity, and inclusion. Employee experience initiatives are really, more important than ever. And there's two reasons there. One is employees now have more flexibility and choice, and companies need to do more than just what the average does. And two is it's difficult and costly to retain staff, and to hire people is even more costly. So companies focus on retaining their employees, and sometimes this employee experience is just one of the ways that they can do that. There's a growing importance in employer branding. That's something that we work with a lot of our customers to try and help them with from a branding perspective, but also the experience perspective. There's a large shift towards skill-based hiring because of new technologies and new services that companies offer. There's a wider range of skills, and hence, you can't find a jack of all trades that's able to build data science algorithms, right? And then the use of AI and automation in recruitment. These are some of the key things that we've seen changed over the last 24 years, or even in the last 10 years. And we'll get into that a little bit in a moment. Right, so the current state of recruitment in Singapore and Malaysia. Honestly, if you just summarize it in two terms, you got time consuming and expensive, right? In some ways, it's become less time consuming, and in other ways, it's become more time consuming. The expensive part, again, you can look at it twofold. In the past, you might have had to rely on traditional or third-party recruitment consultants, or you used to have to spend a lot more time without the addition of technology. Time consuming, you can say in the past, it would have been, you would have spent a lot of time with hiring a limited number of roles. Now you might spend a lot more time hiring a larger number of roles. Even though you do have the help of technology, candidates also do. And candidates have access to places like Indeed, LinkedIn, Seek, where they can just apply for as many roles as they want, versus in the past where it would have been a little bit more of a task that would have limited the amount of jobs that people can apply for. So there's a massive shift in both the way that candidates apply for jobs and the way that employers screen candidates. And that has resulted in it being very time consuming and very expensive. Some stats that we've pulled out: on average, it takes hiring leaders 41 days to fill a role in Singapore and Malaysia. And I think this 41 days timeline is probably relatable in places like the Philippines and UAE as well. It's quite a systemic issue globally that hiring people takes a long time. And also you need to factor in here that 41 days is an average. And some blue collar workers or some workers in specific industries, that might be much shorter. When you're talking about office staff and white collar employees, hiring can sometimes be 60 plus days, even 90 plus days. Don't want to think about beyond 90. 81% of hiring leaders agree that the costs of accessing job boards are prohibitive for SMEs. And that means that you typically have to rely on various different other ways to hire people because you might not have the capital to do so. Hiring leaders spend more than 50 hours per week on hiring activities. That is a ridiculous amount of time, and I'm sure Ray, who'll speak to you in a moment, can talk a lot about that. And on average, it costs $2,493 or 708 ringgit to advertise a role in Singapore and Malaysia. That again could be something higher or around the same in other markets that we've mentioned. So we run reports all the time with our customers to try and identify what's happening in the market, try and identify what are the main pain points that our customers face, so that we can develop a product to try and solve more problems, but also just to try and understand and identify trends. What we found is from our superhuman report, where we really focused on AI and the adoption of AI in HR, is that 80% of HR leaders expect an increase in the use of AI in coming years. And Singapore actually has the highest use of AI software out of the 5 countries we surveyed, with 98%. When we look at the right-hand side of this slide, we talk about different ways that HR leaders think about AI influencing their work, right? The best representative of how AI and machine learning can be leveraged for companies. So if we look at the top 3, identifying and reporting on employee data trends, it's a big one. That could be like time to hire, headcount costs, whether people are more or less likely to leave the company. Creating HR content such as job ads and job descriptions and policies. I think that's something that a lot of people would like to try and automate. Something our system can do is use AI to actually generate. Automating tasks such as reminders. We've got a lot in here as well, but some of the bottom ones just to call out: optimizing compensation and benefits packages. Perhaps that's because companies and employers would like to have more of a human touch and a say, or a little bit more qualitative research. And personalizing programs based on employee factors. We'll share these later on so you can have a look, and we might even be kind enough to share the full report with you. So just a quick list of AI tools and technologies in talent acquisition. So on the left-hand side, you can see the technologies and then what AI can do. So on an applicant tracking system, you can talk about AI filtering, candidate matching, and automated communication. That should really streamline a lot of processes. AI-based assessment tools. So you might have seen these come out over the years. There's been some that have come and gone. Virtual interviewers that have preset questions that are a bit robotic. But what we think AI will be able to do is really assess skills, have behavioral assessments and game-based assessments to reduce your time to hire. Then we've got AI chatbots and virtual assistants, predictive analytics and workforce planning. So things like predictive hiring, talent pool management, and employee retention. So AI that can actually have some predictive analysis to help you with those things. Diversity and inclusion tools. I think this is really important. Something that AI will not be built to do is to be biased. And that's something that humans are just, we're born with it. And it's something that's really hard to avoid. So diverse candidate sourcing, inclusion metrics, these are things that AI can help with. And then last on this page, we've got onboarding and training solutions. So personalized training programs, virtual mentors, automated onboarding. One thing that a lot of HR leaders are generally scared about, and this came through in our AI report, is that with the introduction of AI in recruitment and general HR practices, how do we preserve the human element in recruitment? I think this is really fundamental, and it's important that companies get this right, because recruitment is the first touch point that any candidate has with your company. I think one thing is really important is having empathy and understanding to make sure that the human touch in HR interactions is still remaining. Complements human efforts rather than replaces them. It's important that AI should support a recruiter or an in-house hiring leader as opposed to replace them, right? We can't get rid of the human touch at all. Empowers HR teams to become more strategic within organizations. So instead of spending your time sifting through candidates that are like 1,000, you might only need to go through 50, therefore freeing up a huge amount of your time. Enhances the decision-making process, providing data-driven insights. So again, just something that we can rely on AI for rather than replace humans with, is actually having the data there readily available instead of having to crunch numbers yourself. So last slide from me, benefits of AI-powered talent acquisition in a nutshell: efficiency and speed, reducing bias, and massive cost savings. And that cost saving comes from reducing your time to hire, improved hiring processes, better retention, all of these things AI should be able to deliver. I'll now hand you over to Ray to talk through his experience, or Amanda, sorry.
Thank you so much, Cian, for the insights that you shared. As somebody who's looking to hire in Singapore and Malaysia, this is super interesting for me. It's also very cool to hear about the AI tools that we can use in hiring, which Ray will talk about next. Ray is currently also at Employment Hero. He is a talent acquisition specialist there. And to everyone who just joined, welcome. Please stay until the end for more insights and, more importantly, a giveaway just for you. Ray, please turn your video on and join us. I'd love to hear more about SmartMatch and other next-gen recruitment tools.
Right, awesome. Thanks, Cian and Amanda, for the intro, and of course, Cian, for the wonderful opening segment. Hey guys, my name is Ray. So I'm the talent acquisition specialist here for Employment Hero based in Singapore. I predominantly hire across for Employment Hero Southeast Asia team and some of our global markets. And of course, for this segment, we will be taking a bit of time to talk about SmartMatch, which is one of our latest flagship products, and share with a bit of current talent landscape as well, and how Employment Hero would be able to come in and help you solve some of our HR and hiring challenges. Right. So some key points to take note. I think in the current market landscape, probably here regionally, we've obviously seen quite a bit of challenge across both Singapore and Malaysia, with wage growth still gradually slowing down over the 2023 and in 2024. I think it still continues to remain an employer-driven market with a lot of layoffs that's happening. And I think with candidates right now that we have seen, comments I've seen online on LinkedIn, Glassdoor, or even that people that I speak with, they're a lot more mindful about the companies that they join. So it's not just what the companies are able to offer in terms of money, in terms of benefits, how many leave days that they're able to give, but for them, it's all about, what kind of organization that they are looking to join, the kind of role they're going to be in, the impact, the kind of work, the kind of meaningful work that they're going to be part of. And I think this is also where organizations will definitely need to step up a lot on their hiring strategies and creating a lot more supportive work environments. And of course, I think with COVID kind of still lingering around, we're probably still on a bit of a post-COVID situation now for the past 2 years. That has also given rise to a significant part of part-time or contractual employment as companies seek to fill some seasonal needs or even just awaiting for some full-time headcount approval. So we probably be thinking about some B2C companies or even e-commerce companies when it comes to festive seasons, Lunar New Year, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, periods like that, that companies are usually open to more contract hirings. I think one interesting finding in 2024, even in 2024, is that we're still continuing to see a lot more part-time employment in more operational industries like retail, hotel, F&B, even when travel has opened up, feeling and of course driving to a bit of a need for such talent pipe. And of course, these are also industries which are also known for their notoriously hard to fill roles. And of course, I think with that in mind, attracting top talent remains a huge challenge for organizations. And I think we've seen a lot of articles online on Mothership, Straits Time, even TikTok, that some creative ways that companies use to drive talent attraction. So even for a lot of local companies, they've been starting to roll out benefits like free breakfast, free lunch every day, which typically are practices that large tech companies give. Even some local companies I've heard, they've been giving unlimited paid time off, even a lot more maternity leaves for moms, things like that, work from anywhere, or even quite crazy flexi benefits like gym, clothes, even Cairo, tractor fees, which typically is quite popular amongst desk-bound workers. Last point, I think, is something that I probably could share a bit more as well. I think with recruitment becoming a lot more challenging in recent years, in the education, hospitality industry. So in the earlier part of my career, I actually came from the healthcare and hospitality side. So I've actually had first-hand experience in hiring pains when majority of my roles back then were just really volume. Probably to hire like 10 F&B waiters per month, 20 housekeepers, 10 chefs, stuff like that. And are typically filled by foreign workers. And of course, I think with the past situation in Singapore is quite tight. So I think once again, how are we going to still continue to push out a lot of attractive hiring strategies for locals, and also to help out these sectors. So on to the next slide. On the right, you can probably see some common pains from business when it comes to hiring. So like, I think these top 5 points really hit the spot. Some of you in the audience may be chuckling or nodding your heads. Hiring practices didn't change, high cost of job ad, or even, every single year trying to convince your boss whether to approve a job board renewal. I've been there, so it's not a fun thing to do. But once again, we have to keep in mind that, in terms of how we still want to continue to run an effective business and having talents continuously pump into us in a very challenging Singapore and Malaysian market. A talent team is right now, I would say, is part of the important piece of the business. I guess in the past, a lot of businesses, a lot of people would think that HR department or TA department is probably like, just a HR department, being a middleman, just, driving conversations from candidates to hiring managers and just passing on the message. But I think right now it has evolved to a much more crucial business partnering function that T8 right now is coming in with a lot of market intel, market knowledge about the market, about job boards, about salary benchmarking. So obviously some of the biggest challenge that we probably might have seen in the TA team would be some times wasted on admin, sourcing passive candidates day to day. So things like conducting interviews, sending message hunting messages are things that a lot of recruiters, including myself, spend our time on. For businesses who can afford a larger TA team, you may not feel this pain, but maybe for businesses who have a smaller team or no TA team, this is definitely something that's quite tough. And of course, with the job market constantly evolving, the game that we're trying to keep up right now, it's definitely something that a lot of TA teams keeping in mind of. So like what Cian has mentioned earlier on, we have a plethora of AI tools in the market that TA team can leverage on. So with transcribing tools, behavioral assessment tools, speech-to-text softwares, all these kind of stuff are actually things that a lot of TA teams are actually exploring. And I think this is something that it's going to stay here for a long time, especially with AI, coming in all sorts of colors and patterns to really help drive businesses and hiring decisions. So on the next slide, this brings us to this exciting part of my presentation, which is SmartMatch, and how this will really help change and transform the way you recruit and attract talents. So SmartMatch seamlessly connects you with top talent sourced from Swag Jobs, which is free to sign up for everyone. Leveraging on our proprietary AI tech, this reduces time to hire, improve your placement quality, and of course, helping you as a business experience a smarter way to discover talents or enhancing your business efficiency and reducing hiring costs. So this is really interesting for a lot of SMEs out there. Of course, if you are thinking about setting up your own recruitment team, or you currently also have a recruitment team, SmartMatch is right here to really help find the right talent for you in the shortest possible time. So how does SmartMatch work? Quite simple. So we have 4 steps to get things out there on the next slide. So just quite easy. So pretty much the pre-work of setting up the role, your JD, all these, post it up. We just need some basic information of the role, and our AI will take care of the rest for you. Within seconds, you will be presented with a list of relevant candidates down to the details of their expected salary, last active status on the platform, or even their current proximity to your location. So this is especially helpful for businesses who may require your employee to be 5 days on site, like maybe warehousing, F&B, hotels. So even for the candidates themselves, they can actually know how far this job is away from their home. So that probably would increase the chances of them being interested to interviewing or even accept your job offer. Last 2 steps, quite straightforward. Just pop them a message on the platform. They will receive a notification on the app, and you guys can get connected quite easily, and interview can be set up really fast. So what else can SmartMatch do? On the next slide, I think on the candidate's end, once they've created the profile on Swag, on their end, they will also be notified of relevant roles based on their relevant skill sets, and the AI tool, once again, will be able to pre-screen their interests and matches them to your job, vice versa. And on your side as well, from the company's perspective, you'll be able to set up customer screening questions to filter candidates and be really laser focused in finding the right talent. So at the minute, we have over 2 million data points across numerous industries and roles that will help you benchmark and pay the right salary for your role. So you don't really have to worry about how much am I offering for this role, whether it's too high, too low. We have all these existing data points to really help you make the right call. Right, so for this, we'd like to share also a bit about how SmartMatch has also greatly lifted the playing field for our internal TA team here in Employment Hero, how we've been using it. We have got some success stories to share, and also at the same time, how we have also been developing it with our product team so that you guys get the best recruitment tool out there in the market. So for us, we have been partnering really closely with our product team to develop this SmartMatch product. Earlier this year, we also seconded a team member from our team to the product side that has, of course, made significant growth for the SmartMatch product advancement. And we have also continuing to partner them daily to give live updates, quality of matches every single day. So this actually helps inform the product team by seasoned recruiters from our side who really knows what a good product looks like. So what it resulted in is a fabulous product for our customers, and we've also received a number of good feedbacks from candidates that we've spoken to about how easy SmartMatch use is like. So typically for us in Employment Hero, a typical role, we take roughly about 30 days or a month to fill. So some tricky roles or some more senior roles might take as long as 60 to 90 days. But with SmartMatch, so far, we have gotten in our very, very first internal hire in May. On average, those roles via SmartMatch, we actually got a role closed within 6 to 10 days. So that shaved off around 22 days or 3 weeks from our original hiring timeline. And of course, we do have right now a newly included interested feature on the SmartMatch app that is really helpful to send warm interest to candidates to inform them about any new roles and then indicating interest to be part of the interview process. So this once again speed up time for us to focus on quality interviews, meaningful conversations during interviews, and skip all the nitty-gritty admin work. And I think once again, it helps elevate our entire interview assessment experience. Then of course in Southeast Asia, SmartMatch itself is improving really rapidly for us. Some of our strongest performing jobs on SmartMatch regionally here would be within the marketing, data and finance functions. Over the past 2 to 3 months, we have also seen significant improvements of our candidate volume in Malaysia and the Philippines, and I've also received a lot of intriguing questions during interviews as well when I spoke with people regionally here who asked about the product, how we drive the EH business, what kind of impact does it bring to both companies and candidates. So that signaled a lot of interest from people who are keen to be part of this journey. And of course, we are excited to see how SmartMatch will continue to grow globally here for us. So in time to come, we really hope to fill the majority of our roles via SmartMatch. So yeah, this essentially would be some of the things that we've experienced in our internal TA team. So yeah, that's it. That's a really quick intro about SmartMatch and some of its use, and of course how our internal talent team have been leveraging on it as well. So of course, if you guys are interested, Employment Hero, we also offer a whole suite of end-to-end HR services from recruitment to ATS, EOR, engagement, and a whole lot more. Please scan the QR code if you're interested to book a free demo, and one of our account managers from Cian's team will be in touch. And of course, for our Singapore and Malaysia folks, we are also doing a Scoop giveaway. So please check out our LinkedIn page to get lucky. Yeah, I hope you guys win some Scoop points for your next travels. And back to you for Menda for to kick us off for the panel discussion.
Okay, we're about to start a panel discussion. So to all our panelists, please reveal yourselves. Please turn on your camera. I'm going to introduce all of our panelists now. You've already met 2 of them. One of them is Cian and one of them is Ray. But we're going to introduce 2 very special guests that we have today. One of them is Ling. You can also call her Ling. She is the workforce management top voice, and many also know her as AuntyHR. We also have Adrian Tan joining us. Hello, Ling. So happy to have you with us today and have all of your energy with us.
happy to have me here also.
Yes. Okay, Adrian, it's your turn. I'll introduce a little bit about you. You're a chief marketing strategist at Marketing Sumo, and you're also known as an HR key opinion leader. So to everybody joining us today, thank you again for joining us. We do have a Scoop giveaway, and you can see that on the Employment Hero page on LinkedIn, and we'll also show you the QR later. But for now, let's jump into the panel. So I want to start with Ling. So my question for you is about attracting talent in a competitive job market, and maybe you can give a Malaysian perspective here. What strategies have you found most effective for attracting top talent quickly?
Well, I've been in a recruitment agency for 20 years. So we hire from very junior positions like factory operators all the way to the C-suite, right? So it's basically everybody under the sun. So from my experience, recruitment strategies, like all things in life, should be tailored according to the roles that we are hiring. We should customize it. So like, for example, for entry levels, we use a broader outreach like job boards or campus recruitment. So when we do our advertisement, we highlight a lot about growth opportunities because that matters to the young ones. So when you guys go for like mid-level, we normally go to industry-specific job boards. There are certain job boards that are very niche according to their specialized roles, and we focus a lot about our culture and work-life balance, because that's the generation nowadays. Work-life balance is very important. When it comes to more senior or executive roles, We sometimes go for headhunters. That is where we make our money. And we do more personal outreach. Of course, there are places like LinkedIn and all those places. And we emphasize a lot about vision and leadership opportunities. Okay, when it comes to part-timers, they probably we go to social media, put up a little post on Facebook group, or host some job fairs. That is how we go about it. But my personal favorite that is timeless is referrals. Because I feel that when it comes to referrals, somehow the candidates are already pre-vetted. There is a recommendation. Somebody is recommending that is going to watch for this person, and the person who is recommending you the job is also vouching for the company that you are going for. But referrals take time. It might not work for volume hiring and all those things, but it's one of the fastest way and most effective way, to my opinion. Yeah, back to you, Amanda.
Thank you so much, Ling. I think Cian wanted to join in and share a little bit.
Yeah. So I can probably come from the perspective, I was also a recruitment consultant, not for 20 years, as long as Ling, for a little while. And I've also hired people in companies from small, medium-sized businesses to global enterprise companies. As an employee in some of these big companies, so recruitment is one thing, right? Recruitment and what you can do to attract talent is one thing, but also retaining is another thing. I worked at MasterCard, whereby they have got such good benefits, like 4 months paternity leave, like pensions, everything that you could dream of. But if the work is not exciting and you're not being directed the right way and you're not being performance managed, you will lose your people. And so
I have never heard anybody resign because my company doesn't provide me breakfast.
Yeah.
I've never heard anybody resign saying that my company doesn't have a PlayStation at the pantry.
They're nice to have. They're good
They are
for
nice to have. Exactly. They are nice to have. The number one reason that people always the top reason is about career progression. People feel stuck. People leave companies because they feel stuck. Whether they're stuck with the boss, stuck on the job, they're stuck with their salary.
or just the day-to-day is mundane and not exciting and just remedial, right?
Yeah, that's why they're stuck with boredom.
Yeah. But I think from like how companies can stand out and fight to attract talent versus bigger companies, I think what Ling shared about like diversifying or tailoring your approach for one role is one. I think what Ray talked about in SmartMatch is one way that we help SMEs, right? The traditional recruitment process is post a job, you wait for people to come to you, and you hire them, right? And that waiting period and screening people is long, tedious, costly, and time consuming.
Yes.
With SmartMatch, what we do is we have a ready-made shortlist available for every single role that a company needs to hire for. So instead of waiting for candidates to apply for you, you can be the third-party recruitment consultant that you would otherwise call up and ask to help you, right? You can approach those candidates who are active in the job market, who are relevant for your company, who fit your culture, and who are ready to join your workforce. Right.
And it's a better success rate to reach out to passive candidates too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Someone who's on the market, you just save time, right? You could call up 100 people and 5 of them are interested, or you can have 5 candidates that you know are ready and out on the search for a job. And I think that's the power of SmartMatch and how it can help. Like, because small, medium businesses, the big difference between big corporates is you might not have a massive talent acquisition team. You might not have the resources to go out and call so many people. So just streamlining that and bringing it down to a click of a button is something that can help you fight.
But
Thanks
of course,
so much, Ling and Cian. Feel free to continue.
No, I wanted to say, of course, there are also other strategies. These are just methods of recruitment, right? Of course, employer branding plays a part, competitive compensation. That's why SmartMatch would be able to tell you whether your salary is competitive in the market or not, right? And of course, nowadays, kids are very into these ESG initiatives. So diversity focus is also very important. But bottom line, I feel that data-driven recruitment is always helpful. We always need to use analytics to improve hiring speed and decision making.
I think one thing as well that's understated, right? A large portion of the reason why people join companies is it's not all of these things. It's also got to do with the manager, right? So promoting good culture, making sure that you've got managers in place that have the right morals, the right kind of values, and that I've heard horror stories of people going into
Oh,
interviews
yes.
doubted at, and like some people go ahead with that because the draw or the push factor is too much, but it's not going to be a successful thing, right? You need to have good managers in place. You need to have people that can lead, and that have the right values, and that's why people will join, and that's why people will stay.
That's a different podcast discussion altogether.
We could talk about that all day.
Well, I would love to talk about this all day, but I mean, we were talking about attracting talent, and I think for companies, they want to know about the next step, which is how do you actually get the hire? And for this question, I really want Adrian to come on and tell us how can companies balance the need for speed with the importance of making quality hires? Like, how do you find that balance yourself and maybe with the companies or people that you've given advice to?
Thanks for the question, Amanda. I think there's a few things that companies can actually look at. I'll start with the lowest hanging fruit. That is really to improve your process. So you want to develop standardized JD, interview questions, evaluation criteria, etc. And of course, to leverage application tracking system, AI-based screening tools to help automate as many administrative tasks as possible. Going a bit deeper, you want to enhance your interview techniques within your group of hiring managers, your TA, make it structured, do panel interview. You may want to provide a case study as a way to sieve out the kind of people that you want to bring in. And going beyond that, things like pre-employment assessment, do skills assessments, including technical tests, personality quizzes, to help you quickly identify people that may possess the right skills and qualities for your role. A bit harder and something that companies should really start looking at is really to build a talent pipeline, do proactive sourcing. So you really want to maintain relationship with the potential candidates, even when there's no immediate vacancy. So this will allow companies to quickly fill the positions with pre-qualified and candidates when needed. And as AuntyHR rightly mentioned, employee referrals obviously is the key thing. And I think employer branding is really something companies should start working on a regular basis. I remember in a discussion with the ops director of Starbucks Singapore, everyone in F&B in Singapore typically has some hiring issues, cannot find people, always have, not enough headcount, etc. But the ops director from Starbucks was telling us, actually, she doesn't have that issue. And I think it really centers on the fact that they have such a great branding. People love Starbucks as a brand, as a user. And for them to even consider joining Starbucks as an employer, it's quite somewhat of a given. So if you can constantly build that branding for yourself, I think that would be very important.
So, Adrian, I have another question for you. Because, for example, my business, we're a small business, we have like less than 5 people. How can small businesses compete with larger organizations in terms of speed and efficiency in hiring? Because you want to fill a role, but you're not that quick because you don't have the most attractive thing.
I think the key difference for smaller companies is you could, as the top person in the organization, reach out to prospects or target that you believe might be a good fit for your organization. You're not going to get that from the CEO of Nike, for example. It's not going to happen. So if you are able to do that, I believe many candidates will see that as very sincere. There'll be a huge differentiation from the larger companies out there. And of course, putting other things in play to create the differentiation for yourself. One of the things that I did when I was running my recruitment business was I make it a point to have lunch with my team. It was a small team back then, and to drive them to somewhere to have lunch. And because the team kept growing, so my car also got bigger. So that was something that was doable at that point. But once it reached like 8 or 9 or 10, I don't intend to upgrade to a van. So I stopped that practice, but it's something that smaller businesses can think of, trying to create a differentiation and uniqueness about your organization that bigger companies, no matter what they do, no matter the size of their war chest, just cannot compete.
So the next question I have is actually for Cian. And I want to ask you about how companies can improve the interview process to make it more efficient without sacrificing candidate experience. I'm sure you know this from your experience working across different companies, and especially now that you're working on a product that's actually built for hiring. Sorry, Cian, I think you're on mute.
Oops, classic. I think the interview process is really important. So while we could look to streamline and reduce, I think it's still important to have the right time allocated to interviewing candidates and giving them the time that they need to ask questions, and also for you to ask them questions. Where I think the time saving really comes is on reducing the kind of tracking system and reducing the number of candidates that you need to speak to. That's where you can really save time, rather than cutting down the time that's actually spent bringing the candidate through the recruitment process. So if we look at the recruitment process, there's going to be maybe 5 or 6 touch points in and around interviews, right? There's going to be the touch point where the candidate applies. Then there's going to be like a screening, right? That screening process, that's the one that takes companies the most amount of time. The screening process in a traditional business is you get maybe 100 candidates from 4 different sources. Maybe you've got a QR code at your restaurant. You've got candidates coming from Seek, candidates coming from Indeed, Jobs, JobStreet, whatever. And you have maybe 5 different sources to bring that pool together. So you need to maybe check your email, check a platform, read the resume, and then call the candidate. That is where companies spend so much time that's unnecessary. Whereas if you've got one source, like an applicant tracking system, you have one place where all the candidates come in. That's where you can use AI and where you can use tools like SmartMatch to screen your candidates and give them a ranking. And most applicant tracking systems, most good ones, will have this ability to ask a few like important questions, like, do they have the right to work in that market? You know, have they got this many years experience? So you can pre-screen those candidates to filter out candidates that you simply can't hire, that don't match your requirements. Or some tools have AI inbuilt in it, where it can already determine that based on the resume using ORC technology, where it can determine if that person matches the job description. So that's where the time can be saved. I think as well, what Ling mentioned earlier on was that you save a lot of time when you talk to passive candidates that are active in the market, candidates that are looking for a job, rather than which most recruiters will do if they're headhunting, is they'll call candidates on LinkedIn regardless of whether they've got the open to work badge on their page. And so you might get through 10 conversations and realize that one is only open to an opportunity, wasting 90% of your time. Whereas with something like SmartMatch, you reverse engineer that. You're only talking to candidates that are active and ready to make a move. And that's where you can save the time.
Thanks so much, Cian. I have one last question for the panel, and this one is for Ray. After this, we'll be moving on to the Q&A section, where we'll be tackling the different questions that our participants added on. So Ray, the question I have for you is, how do you avoid bias when you're really trying to speed up the hiring process? I know, all of us are human, all of us have faults. So when we're really rushing through these things, what are the guardrails maybe we can put that can help us avoid bias and make the right hires?
Yeah, for sure, Amanda. So I think with things moving at so fast pace today, even for smaller businesses or even larger organizations, a lot of times when we, the kind of golden question we ask the hiring managers that, when do you need this person to start? They always say, if I can get this person to start yesterday, they'll be great. So it's always about hiring fast and always faster, right? So I think with that, I think the previous panelists, Adrian and AuntyHR, have been speaking a lot about just really finding people who are already interested in your company or even with referrals. So I think with that, just building a lot of structured interview questions, just really assessing them on the same criteria, or even structuring your interview question bank to tie with your own company values if you have one, or even assessing them with regards to your preferred way of working in a particular company. So that really can help zoom in quite quickly on the perfect candidate who may or may not thrive in that environment when they interview with you. I think another two parts about just avoiding bias is, just we always talk about hiring for cultural fit. Oh, this person is good cultural fit for the team, for the business. We also want to have a bit more mindful thought about just hiring people who can cultural add to the company. So people who can come in to improve the current status quo and benefit the organization to progress, to be progressive. So for example, like probably in the past, I've also say just hiring for hotels itself. I clearly remember there was once I was speaking to a Chinese chef. He was quite a seasoned veteran in the field, like just really crafting menus, leading teams. But I always ask them about, say, hey, Chinese menu is always quite traditional. What are some things that you probably would do to help shake things up? And of course, just inspiring your team to do something more for your customers, something more for your guests. So if things like that, if that person's answer is always about just going with the flow, what the hotel needs with the Chinese menu, you can always go. But that particular person kind of just coming in and shared that he was trying to infuse some European taste in the menu, just being a bit more playful with the menu, things like that. So I think we always want to speak with people who are exciting, who are coming with ideas. So I think that cultural piece when it comes to an accelerated hiring process is going to be quite great. And and I think last but not least is to really evaluate the person's potential and not just what we see on paper. So there's a lot of time when we just review on the person's CV. This person may not have been graduating from a certain type of university or have not worked in blah, blah, blah company. They may not be our ideal candidate type, but we often overlook that, things that's not always on the CV. So I think that's also where, back to the structured interviews and the kind of intentional interview questions that we ask the candidates on the interview process, we can really delve into a lot more deeper that things that's not always shown on paper.
Thank you so much, Ray. Now we have to move on to the Q&A section. Don't worry, everyone. We might not be able to tackle all of your questions in this webinar, but we will be emailing you and addressing your questions. And the first question of the Q&A that we'll be selecting is actually for Adrian. I'm going to indicate it here on the Q&A field that we're answering it live. And the question that this guest has for you, Adrian, is, although hybrid work has been especially popular among Gen Z employees, companies like Amazon and Tesla are starting to reconsider this model, with some now requiring a full return to the office. What are your thoughts on this shift?
I think it's by now everyone should know that companies are created to make money, to be profitable, and the more profit the better. So that has always been the case, especially in a fast-growing sector like the tech sector. Despite, of course, the hybrid and all that doing well, I think ultimately company owners are still accountable more towards the shareholders. And in a very tight environment right now, it's all about trying to maximize whatever profit there is out there. This development, honestly, is quite concerning. I've been keeping my eye on it. We can have different arguments whether you are for or against it, but I think ultimately, if this experiment proved to everyone that Amazon earning calls actually improve 3 months from now, 6 months from now, I believe more companies should follow. And rightfully, because in a tight market like right now, it is an employer market. For those of you who have lived a few years longer, like myself, you would have remembered how it was like just before Lehman Brothers or just before SaaS, just before .com. Anyone can just join any industry and be a superstar. That is what we call the employee market. That unfortunately is not happening right now. So the fact of the matter is market goes up and also come down. So right now it's at a market where I believe employers actually has a lot more power. AI is not helping to some extent because I've seen a lot of software developers getting out of job and it's very hard for them to come back to the market again. So all in, I think it's up to the company to run this experiment and see what makes sense. Hopefully, people could be able to vote with their feet. If they think, no, this is not for me, they will move on. And that will send a strong signal collectively to the employers that, no, yes, this, as much as you want people back to office, it's not working out. We are going to struggle to hire people. We got to find a better balance that work for both parties.
Thank you so much, Adrian. Now we have a question for Ling / AuntyHR. It's Chelsea's question, and I'm going to indicate it here that we're answering it live. And the question Chelsea has for you, Ling, is that how can smaller companies stand out when fighting for the same candidates as bigger companies?
I always advocate that to candidates, don't look at the company. I can understand all these big brands like Amazon, like Tesla, Microsoft, but I think the more important thing a candidate should look into is the boss. Because what Cian said earlier is very true. People don't leave company, they leave bosses. So for smaller SME, for smaller companies, right? I think you guys can focus a lot about the company culture, company branding. You can utilize tools to spread the news into the market. And nowadays, marketing is not as difficult as it used to be. You guys can go spread the word through social media, through referrals. There are a lot of things that people got there. But bottom line is you have to be competitive. You have to be competitive. While all these big companies are trying to get everybody to go back to the office, which nobody likes, maybe you want to disrupt something. We are all about 100% remote, like Employment Hero. You guys are 100% remote, right? And I'm sure that played a large factor when Cian decided to join the company. And when everybody who decided, like Amanda decided to join, Amanda is not part of it, right? I would think that would be it lah.
Thanks so much, Ling.
I can tell you a lot of small companies, they do not have problem hiring. They don't, because the boss has a very good reputation in the market. I am a very small company, very small, but I can tell you, if I say I want to hire today, there will be a line. I can guarantee you that.
Awesome. I love the tips that you shared, Ling. For the next question that we have, either Ray or Cian can take it, or even both of you if you really like this question. So I'm going to indicate that this question is being answered right now, and it's Paul Young-shen who asked this question. And the question that he has for you, Cian and Ray, is in your interaction with companies hiring remotely, what are some of their best practices or tools that they use for managing, specifically managing remote employees?
Ray, you wanna go?
Yeah,
You're there.
for
stage,
sure.
and I can then talk about
For
the
sure,
management.
mate. Yeah, for sure, Yong-shun. Yeah, thanks, Amanda. Yong-shun, that's a good question. So I think with some tools that a lot of remote companies have been using for managing remote employees, there's a lot out there. I mean, there's also quite a number of platforms in the market that help that helps companies manage different parts of the employee life cycle. But I think ultimately what it boils down to is the kind of practice, kind of culture that you want to advocate for your own remote company or your own remote teams. Of course, we have a lot of I would say pretty much quite famous tools out there like Zoom, what we're using now, or even Slack. A lot of collaboration, a lot of easy to connect tools to help each of us work efficiently. These tools may work for some people. Some people may not really like the interface of Slack. Some prefer Microsoft Teams. So I think once again, it's really back down to what you really want for yourself and your teams. But I think ultimately, there's once again a lot of platforms out there to choose from. Same goes with the types of recruitment tools that we have right now in the market. So yeah, it's like a buffet. You just have to really take what you like, but you don't want to overeat, and at the end of the day, you don't really enjoy this whole this whole session.
Cian, do you want to
Cian, you have
add
something to
something?
add?
Yeah, so I think like I I might kind of change the question if I can be so bold. I think there's two things to think about here. One is how you enable employees to kind of collaborate and work in a remote or hybrid environment. The other is like how as a company you enable employees without systems. It's more like your way of working. One thing that really helps us perform and grow and work well as a remote first company is being async. So everybody has very clear OKRs. Everybody has a very clear job description, and everybody is responsible for that. We don't try and bog each other down with tons of in-person meetings or tons of virtual meetings even. We tend to kind of split or divide and conquer. And I think that's a really, really effective strategy for companies that want to operate in a remote environment, because you don't have the ability to go and tap your colleague on the shoulder and say, hey, do you want to get into a meeting room and chat about this? And if you want to really get things done quickly and get things done well, that's one strategy that companies can take. If I can also shamelessly plug Employment Hero as one tool that does help businesses, we're at the moment very focused on HR and payroll, right? But over time, what we're building is an employment operating system. And it's one system that when you hire someone, you bring them on board via Employment Hero, and eventually we'll have things in our solution that'll help teams communicate. We also have right now, we have OKR settings. So you can set your company's OKRs, your team's OKRs, and individual OKRs, and measure performance on them as well. I think performance management is really the heart and soul of how companies strive and succeed, because if you don't have clear OKRs, clear directions, and you're not measured on performance, then you're kind of floating. And that's not good for the business, and it's not good for the individual. Generally, people are ambitious and they want to get things done and they want to be recognized for that. And measuring it, tracking it, and making sure that people are performance managed well, that's really, really fundamental. They need to be able to communicate, they need to be able to collaborate, and they need to be performance management. And obviously they need to be paid, right? So something that you can do to make sure that you hire someone, you manage them well, even learning and development. They're the things that are really fundamental for how a company can work remotely.
Thanks so much, Cian. Sadly, we have to wrap up the live Q&A session here, but the Q&A and discussion doesn't end right now because we will be addressing your questions via email after this session. So just wait a bit and you'll find us in your inbox with the answers to your questions. But lastly, thank you for joining us today for this webinar from Hire to Hired, Hire Faster, Hire Smarter. We wanted to give you $1,000 in Scoot credits for your next vacation because you deserve a break from hiring. So if you want to win this $1,000 worth of Scoot credits, please join the giveaway Employment Hero is hosting. You can find it here on your screen right now. You can scan the QR code, or you can go to Employment Hero's LinkedIn page and find the same QR code. Don't forget to join as soon as you can so that you can win your Scoot credits and get that vacation that you really want to go to. Thanks everyone for joining us, and thank you for everyone on the panel for joining us today as well. We had almost 200 people here. Thanks for the time.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Thank you for joining us.